Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and this was never about stopping Trump. I've been at this way too long to fall for those tricks. I've been in this since about 2006. I know many of you have been in even longer than that, and the fact of the matter is this was not about stopping Trump, this election fraud. It was about causing a civil war, and this has long been in the playbook, and it's so obvious to me. We've been calling it for months and months leading into this, and with all the struggles abound with the lockdowns and the insane tyranny we've been witnessing lately, we see these results out of off of Google AP. It says 264 for Biden, 214 for Trump, and it's been stuck like that for a day as I report this at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. We see crazy things like this, where you clearly notice that there's just suddenly a big surge in votes for Biden in the middle of the night, the other night, that causes him to surpass Trump, even though the Michigan election site itself still says he won. You see similar things like this out of Wisconsin. Look at that. I mean, that is so obviously not legitimate. It's ridiculous. Of course they were trying to get a civil war going. Of course they were trying to cause chaos. They've been clashing people against each other in the media for years, slowly doing a frog boil until everyone hated each other and no one focused on the real enemy, the government. The government was always the enemy. The government was always the oppressor. But instead, people look at each other, the people that should be working together against this organized crime racket that steals half of their money and spends it on murdering millions overseas and enslaving them. They should have spent this time working together to fight that enemy, not as looking at each other as enemies and clashing together while these complete maniac psychos rub their hands together and laugh at you. It doesn't matter who wins the election at the end of the day, long term, overall. Trump may have good intentions, but at the end of the day, it's bread and circuses. This is all bread and circuses meant to divide people against each other and cause them to clash. What is Trump the lesser of two evils? Sure, you might say that, but also if Biden got in, maybe people would stop sitting on their hands so much and maybe do something. Just like the anti-war left was really loud under Bush, but then suddenly sat on their hands under Obama, who dropped more bombs than any president in history. And then you could say the same thing going into Trump. It just switches back and forth. But of course, Trump has really shaken up the system and has really caused people to, start to wake up in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, so many are preoccupied with focusing with faith on a leader, like the government's going to save them from the things that the government created in the first place. We see this on Trump's profile page on Twitter here. Big legal win in Pennsylvania. Stop the count, he says. One of the things that I can't help but find crazy is that Donald Trump's profile is completely censored by Twitter. Like, they are completely, the weird thing is, like, so it's not really weird. We know this was the case, but Twitter was working with the Chinese government on all these things. And now they're censoring the president of the United States and not letting you share his post or like his post or do anything, and basically saying everything he's saying is incorrect. It says any vote that came in after Election Day will not be counted. I mean, this is insanity, folks, but we knew it was going to happen, and it's at 79 days of insanity, the 79 days of tyranny that a lot of people were ready for. This will go to the Supreme Court, and of course, the Supreme Court is packed with a bunch of people that Trump put in, and headed by Clarence Thomas now, who, of course, Joe Biden tried to stop from getting his role in the Supreme Court back in the early 90s, so we'll see if opinion plays into that. Of course, Joe Biden is the kitty sniffer in chief, but again, the Michigan website shows Trump is a winner, while everyone else has claimed that Biden won Michigan. Pennsylvania is coming very close. We see this Zero Hedge article. It says Trump campaigned to make major announcement in Vegas after it was seen that about 10,000 people voted that weren't registered to vote. 10,000 more people than were registered. I mean, there's so many obvious examples we see from, like, for example, Project Veritas of voter fraud. He's posting videos of people with the post office literally saying they were fraudulently manipulating the votes. We are literally seeing examples of people from the post office dumping a bunch of ballots. We see examples of thousands, tens of thousands of ballots being thrown. The news says it's debunked. The news just says there's no evidence. There's so much evidence. This is what they've been preparing for so long. It was the same with the Hunter Biden story. They say there's no evidence, where there's literally video. They're basically saying up is down, left is right. They're saying war is peace and ignorance is strength and freedom is slavery. It is Orwellian doublespeak. And it really, again, this isn't about the election. This is about causing a civil war. They're going to cause factions to rise up against each other and clash and possibly bring the UN eventually in. And during this whole lockdown scenario where they'll be able to have crazy laws and rules, and they're probably going to have martial law, and then they're going to have red versus blue instead of individuals versus the criminal psychopathic state that's been extorting them and destroying their lives. This is so misdirected, and this was a whole thing. They got a lot of people in the conspiracy movement suddenly going, oh, well, you know, this is all about stopping Trump. It has nothing to do at the end of the day with that. You can have your faith all you want. This is about clashing people against each other so that they can't focus on the real. It doesn't matter if it was Trump or some other Republican, even though Trump does shake up the system and says things that are different from everyone and has done a lot of things that are different from everyone. At the end of the day, the deep state wins because people are divided against each other, and that is what the whole plan was. While people are talking about trust the plan, this plan was being unrolled and people fell for it. And it's insane because we are going to witness possibly, this could turn into combat, my friends. And all the while, we see a lot of people flocking out of the dollar. Bitcoin soars about 15,000 as market price in much more QE. Gold surges. We also see full lockdown in places like Greece. We see the world is basically collapsing on itself right now, not because of people, not because of a virus, not because of an election, but because of government. And then people still have that blind faith in the state, the organized crime racket that steals your money, in order to fix this problem because it's dependence, and people have been pushed into dependence by being coddled by an almighty nanny police state for the last 100+ years. So people aren't independent enough to actually take care of themselves and be self-sustainable, so they get pushed into the situation. And you know what? A lot of people say, oh, this is horrible, I'm awake, this is terrible. They don't do anything about it. They sit there on their hands and don't do anything about it out of the comfort and out of fear. And out of fear, what happens to their family? They will come in with social credit scores. They'll force vaccinate via social credit scores, so it's based on voluntary vaccinations, but it won't be voluntary. You won't be able to do anything, have a bank account, have a job, do anything without it. I mean, this is how they unroll it. And it's so clear while people are still fighting over who might be a president, someone who has no real connection to their own life, is just this leader to look up to, faithful leader that'll save things and change the day on both sides. It doesn't matter. You matter. Your family matters. Stand up for yourself and stand up for your family, and break free from this game of politics. Collectivism begets collectivism. Collectivism is just an irrational cult it's just an irrational cult that's based in the idea of faith, religion. Based in this savior coming to save them, and that savior being the same person, the same entity that caused the problem in the first place. Stop falling for it. Anyway, appreciate everyone watching. We were deleted off of YouTube, so make sure to hit the notification bell and select to be sent notifications via email on BitChute. In your settings, you can go to settings, notifications, and click to get the notification via email so you see all of our updates, of course, on LBRY and Odysee as well as Flote.app. Check the links below for ways you can donate to us. We really appreciate it. We are completely viewer funded. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, and we have a Bitcoin address coming up at the end of this video that you can check out, as well as go to our newsletter, www.imband.com. Sign up. It takes 2 seconds. Just put your email in. We really appreciate it, folks, and we have a Teespring store and stuff as well. Thanks for watching. We're going to try and get this up as fast as we can before the news already changes, but one thing we can know for sure is that they are pushing for war. And if there will be a war, don't let it be what form of collectivism is best for you, the greater good of the greater number. Do what's best for an individual, not a collective. Freedom is responsibility. It's nothing more, nothing less. Collective responsibility is slavery, and that's a completely different ballpark. So, again, the Civil War will cause people to rise up and fight for their form of government. That isn't a real war for freedom. No matter what, who wins? The government wins. All right? Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.